It's okay, it takes time.
Welcome back, everybody. Another amazing guest for another amazing episode here at Strong. It is season 2, and we have brought boys and men to the platform. Strong is a journey of connecting individuals from all over the world. The aim is to be sharing stories, sharing real life stories, so that we could be empowering the youth with real life role models. So I'm very, very excited to be bringing our very next guest. Welcome to Strong, Ghassan. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for having me on this amazing show. I've been really excited to have this chat with you, actually.
Ghassan, talk to us about what it's like to be a man living in 2020 with so many expectations of being male and so many be careful points of working in a female work environment.
Well, I'll have to say that it's a very interesting question, and it's true that it is a bit of a female environment because perfumes, cosmetics, or if we look at the protocol and etiquette, are typically subjects that a lot of women have cared about. Truth be told, today I work really mainly with fragrances, with perfumes, and men tend to buy a lot of perfumes in this part of the world. So I work for an amazing company which really has done a really good job in kind of having a split between men and women. And I think that makes it super interesting because we are actually quite, you could say, balanced in terms of genders working, and you have all kinds of different positions. So you would be surprised to see sometimes you have a marketing director who's male in perfumes and cosmetics, while the finance director is a woman. Our GM currently, she's a woman. And I think that's not so much depending, I think, of companies and places and organizations. I'm sure there are differences. I'm lucky because I'm in a good place where this is not at all a problematic thing, and where we actually actively have a whole diversity group that go in and look at these challenges and fix whatever needs fixing. So that's it. But I think that if we look in society, I think that's where there are things which are changing, which can be complex sometimes. And I take it, I can tell you I get it a lot when I do my etiquette trainings. A lot of men that are like, they find it confusing. They're like, women want to be treated as equals. But you also have many women out there who want the extra things, who complain if a man doesn't hold the door open for her, or if he doesn't, do a lot of these rituals, which you would say, which were to give women certain advantages. Although they say, but when is that outdated versus what is, a woman is on exactly the same level as a man. So it's true, it's tricky, and I don't think anyone has one correct answer. You just have to feel your way.
What does it feel like then to be a man and having to know, when you've got the guys around and you're talking about this, what are some of the things that you hear men saying, gosh, I can't get it right, or, what does a woman want? And what is the male perspective on that?
I think a lot of men get confused. I think a lot of men are willing to adapt and to change. There are certainly those who do not, but there are certainly also those who do. And I can give you an example from my life. Something as basic as holding the door open for someone, for a woman. She turned at me and said, "I can do that myself." I would be polite because the truth of the matter is I would have held that door open for her, but also for a man. The issue was that there was less than 2 meters between us. And so good manners is if there's less than 2 meters between you and the person just behind you, you hold the door open for that person. But that was her answer. She thought I was doing it in terms of kind of seeing her as a weaker gender. And there are other women who find it really nice if someone holds the door open or who can help in other ways. So I really think it's something that's just confusing sometimes. And you can't win no matter which direction you go. And I think these are some of the things that guys laugh about sometimes. They're like, yeah, what do we do? So some of them are like, well, I've given up. Now I just don't, because I don't do anything because I don't dare. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
It's a tricky place to be. Let's go backwards in time. Talk to us about your upbringing. You're half Danish, half Lebanese. What was that like growing up for you? Or where did you see the enrichment part of it, and where did you see the potential challenges of the identity that you might have had in having both cultures?
Wow, how much time do we have? I find that it has been extremely enriching in so many ways. Today, so I was kind of brought up with 3 languages. Today I can speak in 10 languages. I can communicate in 10 languages. This is because of coming from such, you can say, from having a mixed marriage. Other things that are an advantage is that you have a lot more tolerance, I think, towards other cultures. And I always find it interesting, to learn about other people's cultures. This is something that for me is very enriching. I love it when I travel, to really go dive into the culture, eat the local food, visit a local supermarket, really to understand people. And I think that if you come from a mixed marriage, mixed background, these are some of the beautiful things. I think for many of us, they arrive very late on. I think it comes with certain downsides as well. Truth of the matter is, there is not one place in the world which I can ever call home, which will ever be home. I've been in the UAE for almost 17 years now. The UAE is in so many ways home for me, but it will never be home because obviously we're not made to feel like it's home. Which is part of the way the system is here. Denmark is very much home to me because it's where all my family is. It's really my maternal language is Danish. I feel Danish in so many ways. These are the holidays and the traditions that I celebrate myself, and these are the ones that I introduce to my many friends in the UAE, are the Danish holidays, the Danish traditions, Danish food, generally speaking. Having said that, when I'm in Denmark, the fact that my name is Ghassan will always mean that people have a question mark. It means that every time I'm waiting for, let's say at a doctor's appointment or anywhere, and they have to call out your name, they can't really pronounce your name, right? So you're always this, and you will always get the question, where are you from? Which just the fact that they're asking where you're from already makes you feel like you don't really belong. And Lebanon would be even worse because, again, they also look at me as a foreigner or at best a half foreigner, but so not a real Lebanese. But I've never had any, let's say, incidents of racism. I think it's more of a personal identity struggle. And I know that in my teenage years, there were times where I wanted to be extremely Danish. And then at other times when that really wasn't working, I went over to the other extreme and tried to become very Arabic. And I think that it's only later on in life, and probably I would say somewhere in my 30s, where I started really to say, well, you know what, at the end of the day, nationality is very much your passport, but it's also definitely part of your identity. So I am who I am, and that is, has to go beyond any, actual feeling of nationality.
Of course. Wow. So much. Being from a dual cultural background myself, I can relate to what you're saying. And it's only when you kind of find that place that you feel like, this feels right. They get me. I look like them. I sound like them. I'm different, but it kind of feels right. And I can understand where is home, even though you were born somewhere and you grew up somewhere. There's always something about you that makes you different, yet the same. I can't explain it any other way, but I can relate to that. And I see a lot of the youth here living abroad from their home countries. finding that their biggest struggle when they go back either for university or to stay after university in their home countries or the country that their passport says they're from. And they really struggle with the who am I and do I fit in and am I like them? Am I the same? Am I different? And that is a real struggle for the youth. What would you say from your life experience after leaving where you were born and raised to living here and traveling, learning many different languages? What would you say is the key to helping you stay grounded and stay happy in your own skin?
Well, first of all, I think you gave the answer, and the answer for me is well, it's not one word, but it really comes from one word, and that is the word of being different. And I think that as human beings, and especially when we're young, we're very afraid of being different. And I think that that's the biggest challenge that human beings all over the world face. We need to stop worrying about being different. We need to understand that people are different, that no two people are alike, and we need to celebrate these differences. So I think that this is one, and once you can accept that, you are different, that makes it fine. I lived in Paris for 3 years. I've lived in Spain for 1 year. I've been in Saudi Arabia for a year, and now almost 17 years in the United Arab Emirates. And again, as I said, United Arab Emirates is very much home for me. And I think part of it is because that here I am, how could you say it? I am legally, I'm home, but I'm legally not home, sort of. You know what I mean? So it's not stressful. It's okay. I feel very relaxed about being different here because anyway, so many people out there are from other countries and from different places, are not from here. So everyone has his own unique story. I think the challenge is more for I would imagine immigrants in many countries who might be there even on a second and third generation and who are not welcomed in or were not made to feel like they actually belong to the society. And this could be like telling someone who looks Asian but who might be American and have been so for generations, well, where do you come from? Well, where do you come from originally? I mean, the person is American, so leave it alone. It's not because they have Asian features that they are not American. For me, I think that what has always helped me is the fact that I'm a strong believer in staying true to yourself, but also to integrating. And that means that I live in the United Arab Emirates, and I love the United Arab Emirates. So for me, this is really an amazing place to be. Otherwise, I would be free to leave tomorrow if I wanted to. But I really love this place. A majority of my friends here are Emiratis, and I feel blessed because I know it's not the case with any expats. For me, what's really been essential is that you integrate very well, but without losing the luggage that you come with. You should not lose your own identity. So I celebrate, for example, as I mentioned before, Danish holidays. And I've had Danish holidays here that I've celebrated here with Danish food and everything for just a group of Emiratis, or let's say GCC nationals, because there were several nationalities around the table, all of them eating obviously food that everyone could eat. I would cook and you will do it without the Danish beers, for example, on the table. But still, as much as possible, give them an experience of how do we do things in Denmark. And if I host, for example, New Year's Eve and New Year's Eve dinner here, everyone, no matter what nationality they are, no matter what language, are going to see the New Year speech of the Queen of Denmark because that's the only thing you can't deny my New Year's Eve is when our Queen speaks to us, right? So if you're at my place, that's what you're going to do at a certain time, see the live broadcasting. And what I did and that's the protocol side in me because protocol, I like protocol a lot. So after she speaks, of course, there's the Danish national anthem, and I expect everyone to stand up. So what I'd done a year where I was here is I had prepared the national anthems of all my guests. And then I had, after the Danish national anthem, because it's broadcast live on TV, I played off the other ones in the right order of precedence so that they all came one after the other. And so we were standing up for probably a good 7 minutes, but it was a very fun experience. But it was also a way of showing respect and acknowledging each other's countries, backgrounds, and identities.
So I'm hearing you say your tip is to accept that we're all going to be different and to respect other people's difference as well, and to educate people about what it's like to be you and what it's like to be from where you come from, enjoying these little celebrations. That takes a lot of strength. Where do you feel that you learned to gain that strength growing up and now living away from home?
For me, I think it's part of the Danish model. It's a very Scandinavian thing in many ways. Definitely, a lot of this strength came from my mother. I have an amazing mother who is probably the most tolerant human being in the world. She has always brought us up with certain values. So I think that's where you kind of get the strength. And then, I always believe that I've traveled so much, and I've done so many trainings and met thousands and thousands of people during these trainings. And, I always realized that there's always someone out there who's willing to be your friend. You will always find someone who is not you, but is like-minded to you some way or another. No matter what, you're never alone. And if you today, and that would be a message I would love to pass to young people. If you feel alone, if you feel like there's no one else out there that's like you, it's because you're not looking hard enough. So give yourself a chance to look around and to find other people who are more like you and who agree more with you. And then that can become your new base of friends. I know it's easier said than done, and obviously I'm not a teenager anymore, so life experience teaches you things. But yeah, I think that I also think that young people today are so much more mature compared to what I was when I was a teenager. That's for sure, and my generation as a whole. We were kids for longer.
I think social media has really helped young people to connect with other young people that teach them so many different things that I know growing up for me, I didn't know anything about anyone that lived outside of our city. Like, unless it happened in a paper or we heard it on the news, there was really very little access to the outside world. I think in a way, the bubble that I grew up with, the bubble of, being a young person back in Canada, even in our own city, was very different to an experience that someone my age would have had across the border or, on the other side of the world. Ghassan, what would you say has been your greatest challenge and your biggest learning through your life this far?
It's a tough question because you know what? I feel that I've been very blessed. My greatest challenge actually has been to keep weight off. And if I've eaten too much in my life and I'm still overweight, definitely there must be some reasons behind, and what they are exactly. I mean, if only I knew, and if only I could solve them like this, then maybe I wouldn't be overweight. So weight is something that has been my biggest challenge in life. But it's, again, there's no magic solution for that, you could say. Lessons learned, honestly, for me, lessons learned is more about your approach with other human beings. It's to be open to other human beings. And if you don't feel like you can be open to other human beings, at least be kind to other human beings. Just make sure that you treat every human being with dignity. You don't have to be their friends. You don't have to hang out with them. You don't have to pretend like, everything is perfect, or you don't even have to agree with them. But just show respect, because I think that we need to respect that people are different. I can see sometimes it could be anything. It could be a politician who says something, and I'm like, what is going on here? How could this person say something like that? So I don't need to agree, but I can still make sure that whatever interaction there may be is dignified and pleasant. And I think I learned that by always thinking, you know what? No matter how horrible a human being might be behaving right now, I'm sure that that person must have a mother or someone who loves him or her.
Yes, definitely. There's always somebody there. Ghassan, I want to go back to weight. You kind of talked about it and then quickly filtered out. How was weight an issue for you through your life?
Weight is an issue because I think of the I think a part of it is how you are expected to look today. Still, even though things have become better, um, you have to see that the expectations out there are still very much a society for very slim and skinny people. You have, I don't want to mention specific brands and shame them, but you have brands which are available out there, which are big global international brands, where, for example, a size XL or a double XL is really a size medium compared to so many others. And we're not talking about these being Asian brands where we know that the sizes differ from, these are European brands. And you're like, how could that ever be? So I think that this is part of it. And if you go and you see, for example, many fashion brands, many fashion houses today, they don't even cater to plus sizes. You can't be very much plus before you can't find anything other than shoes and accessories, because and I find that I think that's a shame that happens. But it's also something that, I think that for most people who live with obesity, it's also, there's a reason why you get there and why you get to that point in your life. And I always feel sorry when I hear someone say to someone, yeah, they should diet, or they should just stop eating, or it's not as simple as that, because if it was as simple like that, you wouldn't have. I can't think of many people, I don't personally know many people who are obese or who are very overweight that feel super comfortable about it. But I also think that it's part of it is because that's what society really wants. And naturally, it's not an ideal situation. Why? Because from a health perspective, you can see that, of course, obesity brings with you so many other diseases. And lately, for example, just bringing out the COVID-19, the fact that you're overweight is already puts you at a much more sensitive kind of group of people in case you catch a disease like that. So there were studies in Europe that showed that a large percent of people that really needed respirators were actually overweight. So or very old in age with other diseases to begin with. But if we look at the ones in the 40s and 50s, many of them were overweight. So it comes with these things. So I think it's a mix of two things. I think one is how society views it, and then what your options are, because it's limited. And you can go out with friends and want to buy the same T-shirt, except that you won't find it in that size. You're going to have it custom made.
How long have you been struggling with weight?
Since teenage years.
What was it like to be a teenager struggling with your weight?
I think that it wasn't always easy. I think it was tough. And I think that when you have tough times, for many people, what happens is you start to eat more. So it kind of is like this ongoing thing that happens. But yeah, I've been lucky. It's not something that I've ever been, never been really teased very much because of weight or anything, and not received many nasty comments. I'm sure there must have been one or two that have flown over the year, but as a young teenager, maybe specifically, but they're nothing that have stuck to me or that I have remembered. It's more the day-to-day challenges that you can see that this is what it is. Or you could go out, I don't know, and see what people wear, or people on the dance floor, and you don't feel necessarily as comfortable as those, because you're always aware of people might look at you differently.
What do you think weight means to men that women don't understand?
I think that again, I think that for women and men, I think it means a lot. But I think that, or I don't know if it's very different for men and for women. But I just think that for men, the challenge is, up until now, and I still believe today, there is more of a social pressure not to express your emotions. So that if you do have an issue, you deal with it yourself. Mm. And I believe also that men and women are different sometimes. So I do see that sometimes there are men, if they have problems, they don't like to speak about them at all. Whereas women are more open to speaking about certain problems and issues. Yeah, I'm not sure that I see that there's much difference or that there's something specific that I would say. Just again, be kind and be patient.
So important to be kind and to be patient. Ghassan, talk to us about what it's like to be you on a typical day.
Not too bad, you know. I'm what it's like to be me. I get up in the morning. The biggest blessing for me with COVID has been that being at home all the time, I'm actually able to usually have my breakfast nice and easily at home. You know, sometimes, and again, that's the etiquette that I love so much. So I will easily have my meals at home, for example, and really set up a table and use, you know, real napkins, bring out silverware, bring out the china, and just enjoy my meal like that. And before, that was not an option, for example, for breakfast, because everything would be super rushed. Today, that is an option that I can do it differently. So it's these kind of things. I would usually have gone to the office. Today, we work from home. Then, because I have the whole perfume thing going, but I also have the etiquette and protocol side going, then often I would come home and I would sit and do more of the etiquette protocol thing once I get home, and look up things, learn more, especially, you know, cultural differences. I spend time on that. I try to be very good at maintaining good contact to my close friends. I have a group of close friends in different parts of the world, actually, but I really try to be in touch with them on a almost daily basis, and the same with my family. I'm very much in touch with my mother, with my sister as well, my brother from time to time, and especially their kids. So I being in touch with people, I think, is also the highlight of one of my days. But I'm not someone who goes out a lot. My nightlife years, they're long gone. They're long over. You could, but it's just, you know, I'm much happier just being at home and doing things that I like, and surrounding myself with things that kind of make me happy, be it fresh flowers that I can put out there and watch a good movie. And I always love to learn something new. It could be language, it could be especially a lot of these etiquette protocol things. You know, why do the Japanese put their chopsticks in one way and the Chinese different? I mean, not many people even know that happens, but for me, I like it, and I like the interest. I'm very interested in these things. So that's what a day is for me. I cook myself most days. I don't order delivery much. I live by myself. And yeah, but yeah, I cook. I live a normal life, I would say.
That's so great. And Strong is about creating a community, a global community where we can share these stories. What do you feel, if you look back at your journey so far in your life, what do you feel has been your greatest ally?
My friends and my family, people that I wouldn't exchange for the world, definitely. People are important for me. I'm someone who values people. I don't need to have people around me all the time, but and the friends that I have, and my family as well, are people that I know anytime, if I needed them, they're but a call or a message away, and they know the same about me. So I think that's the best thing. And then I think to be curious. And again, I think the most important lesson is to learn. And it can take time and it can be difficult, but to learn that different is not bad. Different is different, but different is not bad. It's not a negative thing.
Beautiful, beautifully said. Who was your role model growing up?
You know something, I haven't had any specific role models in life. I couldn't say that I've had a specific role model in life. There's not one person that has inspired me to be something different or to live in any specific way. Yeah, no, that I'd owe you an answer because I can't think of someone specific. There are many people out there that I have admired and that I thought are, you know, marvelous in so many ways and who've done great things. But an actual role model, not necessarily. I mean, there are things that I would have learned about, and especially when I do a lot of my biography reading. Let's say the late Queen Mother of Denmark is a woman that I learned, I've never met, but that I learned a lot of things. Like, for example, I don't gift wrap using cellophane tape because she was always saying that a gift should be easy to open. So the secret is to buy good quality paper, for example, so that when you gift wrap, when people open it, they don't have to struggle and rip things apart. And this is something that has been useful for me because even in protocol, I teach now that if you're going to have a unveiling of gifts that are wrapped in some kind of ceremony, you can't have tape because you don't want someone VIP ripping something apart to get into it, right? It doesn't look good on pictures either. So let's avoid the tape. So there are people like that I have followed, read about, seen documentaries about, and admired, and then kind of implement some of what I've heard and seen into the way I live my life.
So wonderful, really so wonderful. A role model doesn't have to be one person. It can be, you know, sometimes a role model can also be a person or someone you've read about that you think that's definitely the opposite to what I want. Or, you know, I think role models are people that teach us something about ourselves without sitting us down and saying, you need to learn this and this and this. So it's great that you were able to remember that it's not just one person. There were several people along the way. Ghassan, in our pre-interview questionnaire, one of the things that you mentioned for young people is no matter how lonely you might feel, there's always somebody out there. What would you say has been the loneliest moment in your life?
It hasn't been lately because lately I've been so much in touch with friends and family through the whole COVID that even though I've been alone and even though I would go for more than a month without seeing any other human being, I never felt alone. We were physically separated, but in soul we were together. I think that, you know what, the loneliest moment, actually I know what the loneliest moment in my life was now that you coming back. The loneliest moment was when I lived in Paris. I used to travel, I used to cover Europe, Africa, and the Middle East, basically. And I was living in my suitcases. And I had a business trip. I had a training that I had to do on the beautiful island of Mauritius. And I arrived to Mauritius and the hotel was fully booked and they wanted to move me to another hotel. And I protested because, you know, I was like, no. And I had gold status with that chain. And I said, it's not possible. Honestly, I've been traveling for so long and we have 2 or 3 days of conference at your hotel. I can't be going back and forth all the time. Anyway, finally, they put me in the big presidential suite of the hotel. I had 2 floors all to myself, jacuzzi overlooking the ocean, and I never felt more alone in my life. I would go to the restaurant in the evening, and every table was a table for 2. Everyone there was on their honeymoon. You couldn't speak to anyone. I was in this beautiful suite, but there was no one there, and I was just so far away from everything. And this is probably almost 20 years ago. So you didn't just pick up your cell phone and call people because, first of all, there wasn't any free calling. I mean, it would cost a fortune if you were going to roam like that back in the day. Those were a bit of lonely days. And I think that would always mark me, that at that moment, I was surrounded by total luxury, and I had never felt more alone because I had no one to share it with. And I think that has made me realize when they talk about, because sometimes people, they say, yeah, people with a lot of money, they have everything so easy. And I just, because of that experience, I realized not necessarily, because you can be lonely whether you have money, whether you don't have. There are so many things, that it depends on. So yeah, that would have been my loneliest moment.
And I think loneliness is something that a lot of men don't talk about. I think women don't talk about it, but sometimes it's easier for a woman to express it. And I find that in my interviews with different individuals, with men now particularly, it's something that they're too, I can't really be telling people that because I'm supposed to be, this man that's supposed to be so strong and so, put together. What would you say got you through that time, looking around you and thinking, this is the loneliest feeling, being here on my own?
Well, I think I had it easy because I knew that this was going to be for 2-3 days and then I was going to move on. So
But would you say that it tapped into something that was already within you and that moment just brought it to life?
It definitely must have. And I'll tell you why, because I have been, ever since I was just about 22 years old, traveled abroad a lot and lived abroad and by myself every time. So never with my family. And then I moved back to Denmark for some years. But now I've been out of Denmark since I moved out of Denmark in 99. So that's, you can imagine, 21 years ago already. And so you're away from your family. And I'm quite good. I usually go see them twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year. My mom comes on a yearly basis. This year she couldn't because of the situation. And I have friends who come and visit as well. But it's true that you're away a lot from people and you're alone. And you could say that potentially now during the COVID situation, it's true that not having family here, not having anyone around you also limited you further because you can't just go to, someone else's house who have their family and everything, it wouldn't be right? Because they would be at risk, you could be at risk, so it wouldn't be fair to anyone. So you didn't have the option, and I think that maybe. But I didn't really feel it so much now. So that's what I'm trying to think. But I get that a lot of people are lonely. I know I have friends that can feel very, very lonely. And yet I don't think that social media is doing anything at all to help the sensation of loneliness, because I'm sorry, you go out today and you see, or you went out 3 months ago, 4 months ago, and you could go to a restaurant and you would see everyone is on their phone, even though they're at the same table. Even something as simple as the art of conversation is gone for many people. A lot of young people don't even know how to have a conversation. They'll text each other about. I have a funny example of a friend of mine who. They live as roommates. They're roommates, or they share a flat together. Certain people, they text each other. If there's an issue, instead of just going and say, "Yo, why? I don't know, clean the kitchen." They message each other. I'm like, that for me is very weird. It's very strange. But I also respect the fact that for some people, it's difficult. Maybe the communication, the direct communication.
What do you see in your circles of male friendships that are some of the topics that men might shy away from but really need more support with?
Depression, anxiety, I know some people with cases of depression or with cases of anxiety, and it's not something that they are openly willing to talk about. I think that's a challenge for many men. And you know what? Funnily enough, and I could be very wrong, but I find often that for a lot of men, financial problems is very difficult to talk about, more than I've experienced with women. I find that men try to hide it more than, but that could be just it could be what I've come across. So I don't want to stigmatize in any way, but I think that a lot of men really, they have a very hard time to say, oh, I can't afford that, for example, or that's not, but yeah, that, and then on a more, you could say, personal basis, I think they're not very open to discuss topics like anxiety, depression. I think one of the big taboos in the male world is abuse. I think men who have been abused as children, for example, many of them are never going to speak about it ever, or share that with anyone. I think that it is so much more taboo for a man than it is for a woman, and women already struggle with that. But I think that for men, that would be, almost unheard of to come out and say these things.
So for anyone listening to this, it could be the parent of a young boy, it could be a man, it could be anybody watching. What are you hoping that from your life, from your story, that you want them to be walking away with today, knowing that what you said can actually help them?
I would want to say that part of the reason why I feel that I've been very embracing and been open to so many cultures and to meeting people, and why I today feel at ease with myself and happy in my life, is because I've grown up with a family that has supported me, always been there for me. I have never doubted their love. And the same goes for my good friends. I have never for a moment doubted their love for me. And of course, it goes in both directions. I think that sometimes we forget to let certain people around us know that we love them, that we're there for them, what their struggles are. I think that sometimes you need to, I think it's a very difficult balance, because I think that sometimes you might think something is wrong, but I don't think you should go and directly face them with it. You need to give them the opportunity to bring out what may be bothering them by themselves, but I think that you need to make it very clear. And I wish that every family would have a policy of nothing is so bad that we cannot find a solution, that we cannot talk about it, and then let's see how we can support. I mean, even a mass murderer has a mother in court crying when he's sent to jail. You know what I mean? We need to care for our children. We need to be there for them. We need to support them. And yeah, I think that's what's very, very important. So I think tolerance and openness, and not trying to change them. So rather than trying to change young people, maybe saying, do they have a point? Because at the end of the day, they're also the future. And is there maybe something that I need to change? Is my perspective maybe what needs to change, rather than my teenagers' perspective that needs to change? It's not always going to be the teenager that's right and the older person that's wrong. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm just saying that sometimes maybe we need to ask ourselves a few more questions before we do that. And I think it's very important to always let your children know that no matter what, you're there for them, and that you're not going to be too busy for them. And there are people that are very busy and things like that. I don't know, come up with a code word so that if that person says, listen, this is code red, you drop whatever's in your hand and you give them your full and dedicated attention.
I love that.
I think that we need to let people that we love know that we are there for them.
I love that. I love that. That is so beautiful. Thank you so much, Ghassan. It's so amazing to have you here today. I've loved their conversation. I've loved how you've really been open and very reflective of sharing moments from your life. And I know that anyone watching this will feel very, very, very happy to have seen and to learn from you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for hosting me. And yeah, I mean, be strong. I love the project. Thank you so much. I think what you're doing, and it's going to have such a positive impact on so many young people. And, I'm so happy that in any way that I could support. Because again, I think that's what's beautiful about human beings getting together and doing something good for other people. I think it's just amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And that brings us to the end of another amazing episode. What a journey this is for me. I am just so incredibly humbled by everyone I meet, and hearing stories makes me feel more connected to my global community, and I hope that's doing the same for you. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again next week when we bring another wonderful guest just like Ghassan. Have a great day, everybody.
It's okay.